Hello and welcome to today's edition of Carolina Insider here at the Kennedy Greenhouse Studio at the University of South Carolina. I'm Zach Driver. We lead today with exciting news from the South Carolina State House. The House of Representatives passed a new budget Tuesday night. The bill had almost unanimous support with only one lawmaker opposed. According to the state newspaper, the bill will give $400 million to statewide road repair and give a 2% pay raise for state workers. Moving on to campus news, the Lady Gamecocks basketball team has an exciting weekend ahead. Here's Ideen Ghorbani with today's Garnet Report.
The postseason continues to get sweeter for the Lady Gamecocks. The team will take on Syracuse tonight in the Sweet 16 round of the NCAA tournament. The game will tip off at 7 p.m. in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Be sure to tune in to ESPN to catch all of the action. The Gamecocks have a big challenge ahead of them against a tough Syracuse defense tonight. A win over the Orange would improve Carolina's record to 34-1, placing them only one game away from reaching the Final Four again. Should the team beat Syracuse tonight, they will advance to play the winner of the Ohio State versus Tennessee game. That's all we have for today's Garnet Report. Back to you, Zach, in the studio.
Thanks, Ideen. A Columbia High School's viral video sparked conversation when it made national news earlier this year. It led many to ask the question, what role should officers play in public schools? USC law and education professors tried to answer that question recently. Hannah Sims has the story.
Months later, and this video of a student at Spring Valley getting slung from her chair is still a topic of conversation. A panel of USC law and education professors did some research and shared what they found with students, educators, and resource officers. One of the law professors, Josh Gupta-Kagan, tells us what he thinks the school should do to handle these situations.
My view is that there should be a pretty thick line between school discipline and law enforcement issues.
He says that law officers should only get involved if students and/or teachers' safety is being threatened. Education major Ryan Brown agrees.
Above all, we're always concerned about students' safety.
Then why does it seem like teachers and resource officers aren't?
We don't want to be judged just on the amount of arrests that we make it in the school, because what people see in the media, they're going to see that negative stuff and they feed on that.
So how can this issue be fixed?
Some strong lines around the role of law enforcement in schools so kids have space at schools to be kids.
We've got to be able to say no and back away.
Ryan Brown also gives his opinion.
And I would love to see there be more programs where school resource officers actually get involved in school activities and get the chance to speak with students because it might help lessen the intensity of a situation when a school resource officer does arrive.
Professor Gupta-Kagan says that reform efforts are happening in the state and the country by trying to narrow the criminal laws in every minor incident of school misbehavior where it doesn't become a crime. While changes won't be made overnight, panels like this one is what gets people talking and involved in trying to make a difference. For Carolina Insider, I'm Hannah Sims.
Many students are blaming the pollen for their sniffles. However, it might not be allergies. You might just have a cold, and this crazy South Carolina weather could be to blame. According to a Yale University study, the reason you've caught a cold may be because it's cold outside. A cold nose makes the immune system weaker. It then gives the virus the chance to take over, making you sick. This is especially important on college campuses where students are constantly in close quarters. Students living in dorms need to be particularly careful.
I was thinking about that today in class as a teacher passed a paper around the aisles. Everybody was taking the pack and handing the next person, so if they had just coughed on their hands, odds are some of those germs are getting passed to your paper and then to you.
To keep from getting sick, always remember to wash your hands, wear a jacket in the morning, and stay hydrated. Before we go, if you're looking for something to do this Easter weekend, check out our Carolina calendar. Check out the Columbia Museum of Art tonight for a jazz concert starting at 7:30. The Cream of the Crop Beer Festival will be at City Roots Farm on Saturday. The festival celebrates local breweries and food from North and South Carolina. And for the holiday festivities, be sure to check out the Columbia Easter Extravaganza. The event is free and will have refreshments along with lots of interactive events. For an on-campus event, head to the bookstore tonight at 8 for a night full of poetry. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Carolina Insider. We'll see you back here next week in the Kennedy Greenhouse studio.